Starting with music by ragtime players from the late 19th century and ending with recordings by today's living legends of jazz, the Jazz app takes you through a series of music recognition challenges called Jazz Jobs or JJs. Jazz jobs are about listening to jazz tracks for a set number of times and for a set amount of time, then identifying those tracks by musician, lyricist, track title, album title, and/or date of release, depending on the JJ. Most of the time, you can listen to the tracks and get track information more than once before taking a multiple choice test. And most of the time, you have more than one chance to pass the test. But how many chances you have, how many times you can listen before testing, and how many seconds the tracks play depends on the JJ. If you fail a jazz job, you gotta back up and redo the previous job before moving forward. And depending on the JJ, sometimes failing means you gotta start over. The goal of the Jazz app is to advance through 5 stages that get harder as you go along. The stages are named Explorer, Fan, Certified Cool, Connoisseur, and PhD. Each stage of the app has 3 grade levels, named after notable folks who are living, no longer living, or fictional. Under the Explorer stage, the 3 grades are Sacagawea, a Native American guide and interpreter crucial to Lewis and Clark's exploration of the Louisiana Territory; Matthew Henson, the African American explorer who was the first man to reach the North Pole on Robert Peary's 1909 expedition; and Tenzing Norgay, a Nepali Indian Sherpa mountaineer who first reached the summit of Mount Everest with Edmund Hillary in 1953. Here are the grades under the other stages. I think these folks are good matches for the stages. I won't explain them all, but here's a few more. Leon Vitali is an actor who gave up his career and dedicated his life to be Stanley Kubrick's personal assistant. To this day, he's the primary caretaker of Kubrick's film library. Lisbeth Salander is the central character in a series of novels written by Swedish author Stieg Larsson. She's a world-class computer hacker who uses her skills to fight misogyny and corruption, and she gained international attention after her portrayal by the actor Noomi Rapace in the 2009 film The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Elvis Mitchell is a well-known film critic and the longtime host of The Treatment, a very popular radio program on 89.9 KCRW. And Jiro Ono is considered to be the best sushi chef in the world. His exacting standards were profiled in the 2011 documentary Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Under each grade level, there are 4 steps named after the notes of the dominant 7th chord in the key of C. That's C, E flat, G, and B flat. It's an important jazz chord, but here the notes are only used as markers to help organize the jazz jobs. There can be up to 6 jazz jobs under each step note. Under the Obama grade, there's 1 JJ under step notes C, E flat, and G, and 3 JJs under step note B flat. The stages, grades, step notes, and JJs mean that if someone asked you how far you've gotten in the app, you might say, Certified Cool Obama, B flat, JJ1, or just Obama B flat, JJ1. Of course, jazz jobs at the beginning of the app are the easiest. The first one, Explore Sacagawea, CJJ1, has 3 tracks composed by Scott Joplin: Maple Leaf Rag, Picture of Her Face, and Solace. Here's a bit of the way they would sound. After listening to each track for 60 seconds each, you have 3 chances to match the titles by multiple choice. That's pretty easy. But by now you may be thinking that all the jazz jobs would be easy if you could get help from a friend or from a music recognition app like Shazam. Well, this may be true. To get the most out of the app, players will be encouraged to do the JJs on their own, without help of any kind. But all game apps lead to frustration that can overcome the best intentions. Some folks will take shortcuts, but they'll probably still learn something. If a player is interested and motivated enough to cheat, the app has still done its job. It promoted jazz appreciation. On the other hand, there's no way a cheater can become a jazz app connoisseur or end up with a jazz app PhD. If you want to get past the first grade of the connoisseur stage, you got to do it under the supervision of a jazz apptician. I'll explain what that is in a bit. A jazz apptician is a retired or active professional jazz musician recruited to administer JJ exams to connoisseur and PhD candidates by video conference. For a fee, of course. Here's the basic idea. Once you pass JJ4 under Connoisseur Elvis Mitchell Step Note C, you're automatically added to the queue of folks eligible to test at the connoisseur level. Then whenever you're ready, you select an available test date on the Jazz App website. Rules and materials for the exam are sent to you via mail and email, and on the day of the exam, you have to show and declare to the optician that no one else is in the room with you. And once the exam begins, to make sure that you're only using your listening and music ID skills, you have to wear blacked out glasses or a blindfold, specially provided by the Jazz App. There's no backing up when you test with an optician. You just keep going as far as you can or for as long as you want. Pass or fail, your results are emailed to you after the exam, along with the correct answers to whatever you got wrong. There are two parts to the Connoisseur and PhD exams. In part one of the Connoisseur exam, you have to show what you know from the earlier stages. You have to pass all the JJs under the Explorer stage, pass all the JJs under the Fan stage, and then pass 5 certified cool JJs selected by the Jazz Optician. Then in part 2, you have to pass the remaining JJs under the Connoisseur stage. If you pass the Connoisseur exam, you're added to the queue of folks eligible to take the PhD exam. In part 1 of the PhD exam, you have to pass all the JJs under Explorer, Fan, and Certified Cool, plus 10 Connoisseur JJs selected by the Jazz Optician. Then in part 2, you need to pass all the PhD JJs. For the PhD jazz jobs, you have to identify music by track title, album title, and the date the album was released. The names of the musicians and the release dates on your exam are given to you in advance with your eligibility notification. Here are Ahmad Jamal's tracks under PhD Juro Ono B flat. So the release dates you'd be given in advance for Jamal's tracks would be 1955, 68, 72, 87, 94, 2008, and 2019. And of course, no two candidates would ever be tested with the same release dates. There's just one jazz job for each of the PhD musicians, and they're all the same. The optician tells you the musician's name and plays each track for 60 seconds. After each track plays, you have to state the title, album, and release date within 90 seconds, including a 30-second replay if you ask for one. And if you need to call a friend, as they say, you can ask the optician for one or two of the 3 answers, but if you do, you lower your chances of passing. There are 252 questions in Part 2 of the PhD exam, 84 in each of the 3 grades. You have to get 60 correct in each grade for a total of at least 180 to pass. Part 2 of the Connoisseur exam has 170 questions, and you need 120 to pass. A final score for either exam is recorded as the highest grade passed together with the total number of correct answers. Annie Leibovitz 90 could be your score if you didn't pass all the grades in the connoisseur exam, or if you passed all the grades, your score could be connoisseur 157. In the PhD exam, your score could be Alice Ball 153 if you didn't graduate, or PhD 223 if you did. Whether or not you pass the exams, you can choose to have your score posted and ranked online, like the way chess players are ranked, and you could do it with your real name or whatever you want to call yourself. This is how the rankings might look.